So, hello, welcome to another Trustlines community call. I'm Tatu. I'm the communications and community manager contributing on Trustlines Network. And with me today, we have some guests from the Maingold and Sardexpay teams. So, uh, let's do a round of introductions. Let's start with Tim here.
Yeah. Hi, Tatu. Hi, everyone else. I'm Tim from the Maingold team, and I started that initiative like 2.5 years ago, and we're developing quite good, I think. And yeah, as a professional at the so it were quite busy times, but now the German national team was exited by the English team, so a bit more time now for me. But today we want to talk about community currencies, and I'm really excited especially to meet Giuseppe from the Sardex, because of course they're one of our role models actually for our system. So I'm really looking forward to the discussion.
Tatu, shall I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hi, Giuseppe Littera here. I'm one of the co-founders of Sardex, and I'm working in research and development the past couple of years, and I'm happy to have known the Trustline protocol, and I've been experimenting with it, and so thanks for having me here, and hopefully it's going to be an interesting discussion with the Maingold team.
Yes, and Tim,
Yes.
Chris.
Hey, hello everyone. Very nice meeting you all. Great to be on this call today here. I'm very looking forward. Yeah, of course, meeting you, Giuseppe. As Tim mentioned, I couldn't agree more. Like, big, great role model to us, like Sardex. Yes, I'm involved more on the, let's say, app technical end. We're speaking a little bit more in a minute. Yes, besides, I'm also working in the IT industry. Yeah, and therefore, I'm really looking forward to this call.
Thank you all for the introduction. So for people who have perhaps followed the community calls before, this is a new format that we're doing. We had a pause. So now we are going to have group guests like we have this time. We'll shorten the amount of time that we will be doing updates about the Trustlines network. So I will just do a brief update here. So for those who haven't checked it out, Trustlines update number 1 we did for March and April 2021, a couple months ago. So there was a general update about what's going on in the ecosystem, development progress, and then more on the chapter leaders and chapters, including the Venezuela team. And if you haven't, go check out the Gitcoin Grant Round 10, where they are also looking for grants, donations currently. If anything helps. Then we have Maingold and some screenshots from the app, which is looking really good. And of course, Tim and Chris will be talking more about that today. There was an initiative started in Rwanda, and there's been some events. And then we will have another update coming around next week. So be sure to go and subscribe to the blog, Trustlines blog at blog.trustlines.network to stay up to date for the upcoming update, what's been going on, or follow Trustlines Foundation at Twitter. And now we are going to move on to the more exciting stuff of talking with our guests. So, Tim, could you give us a brief introduction on Maingold?
Of course, I can do. Thanks a lot, Tatu. And I'd like to maybe start with our team's motivation to start that community currency here in Frankfurt, this initiative, because our motivation feeds from different areas actually. So on one side, we want to promote local businesses because we think that it's them who make our city so lovable, and a lot of them are getting under more and more pressure from like big companies and also the online trade. And we want to build and strengthen a circular and more regional economy to reduce insane transport routes and thus protect our planet. And we perceive the current financial system as unstable, and we want to build a complement, a kind of buffer, so to say. And we are convinced that all these motives can be achieved or at least pushed with a local currency. And of course, there are many pioneers and role models for us. I just already mentioned it, that of course Sardex is one of them for us, but also Wirfranken in Switzerland, or like Bristol Pound in England, or Grama in Spain. But of course, for us, Chiemgau in Bavaria and Roland in Bremen are particularly interesting for us because they're based in Germany. And yeah, so during the last years, we did a lot of research and created a concept that includes both local businesses and consumers. And so Maingold, you already mentioned, it will be a digital community currency backed by the goods and services of participant businesses and based on blockchain technology. So local SMEs will be able to spend Maingold to pay their suppliers, but also to exchange them for euros with consumers. And this way, Maingold can still circulate even if the currency accumulates at one of the participating SMEs. So they just exchange their Maingold surplus with the consumers. We already have some talks with German regulators. They implemented many years ago some kind of a area exception of the e-money business. And so we're quite optimistic that a local system like ours, there won't be any problems with the financial regulators. So our concept is set. We're more than happy with our cooperation with Brainbot and Trustlines, who developed some adjustments for our Maingold app. We already showed some screens of the app, so we're really proud and happy to have that version. And yeah, in July, we will hold an information event for interested SMEs. During the recent days and weeks, we talked with a lot of them and had some good feedback by them. And so we're looking forward to a pilot this summer. So we didn't already issue the currency yet. And maybe for an end note, what's especially important to us with Maingold, we will run Maingold as a cooperative in order to involve the participating SMEs and to make decisions democratically. Because in our opinion, that's the most democratic legal form. And so we can underline our approach to make our monetary system more democratic and more sustainable. Yeah, so far in a nutshell, if you're interested in further information, please ask. And thanks again for the invitation to that interesting call.
Yes, thanks, Tim. And as a reminder to people watching, we will also take questions from the YouTube live chat. So feel free to post questions for Maingold, Tim, Chris, or for Giuseppe. And Giuseppe, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about Sardex and how that has been going.
Yeah, well, Sardex is quite old now. We started it in 2009, and the past, well, since the pandemic, I can tell you in a little nutshell what's been going on, because we've implemented lots of new technology. Apart from like the transaction engine, we connected to SAP. Salesforce, for instance, so it's a powerful machine as opposed to when we started. But you know that's fine. And in terms of network activity, we've been growing quite well outside of Sardinia. In the past 18 months, the transaction volumes also had a little, I would say 30% drop during the first lockdown, but since then has been steadily growing. So what I can say is that in our case, we do not allow any exchange between Sardex credits and normal money. And still in such a situation, I think it's been proven again that a mutual credit or a trust-based economic system functions really like a buffer when conditions change, and is actually pretty fast. In our case, we are not a cooperative. We are a for-profit service company, and we're just closing a quite successful crowdfunding campaign on it's called Back to Work 24. That's the platform we used in Italy, and equity crowdfunding. So right now we've got 200 more shareholders than that are members of the network. So in a way, it's some similar way of getting those who participate to be also part owners. I don't see that democratization aspect directly related to ownership stakes. Personally, I think that trust-based trade systems on local basis do make sense if they are well managed. I don't think they even need any administration or any ownership in the participation. What I mean by this is not a critique; it's just one perspective. Is if one system works and works well, I think it tends to be very silent. How can I say? You don't need to have a parliamentary debate on the wheel. You know, the wheel is round, works. We do debates on more complicated stuff. But definitely, as things stands, nobody has invented the credit wheel that just works. Credit, regardless, be it backed by euros, by invoices, by goods and services, credit is always, to my experience, equals to trust and risk. So it's like three things, they go all together all the way. So I think the experimentation that we are still doing and you guys are starting is valuable. Is valuable in economic terms as well as in, I would say, social terms, because in I don't remember exactly who said it, or I think it was Professor Dini. He said complementary currencies are like laboratories of institutional change, and I think that's true, and at least like we're trying to bring about change. That's a very common denominator, as Tim was also pointing out. Supply chains are very, very widespread, and when shocks hit the system, the peripheries get lost back behind, and even in areas like the middle of Europe, where Frankfurt is, you have disruption going on and stuff that doesn't work. Also because like some supply chains are really global. And I think it's worth, even when networks are incomplete and fragile, local networks have the possibility also to facilitate the emergence, really like the coming up of data about a given economy. I can say this because in 10 years of running Sardex, we have amassed a lot of data that is directly connected to real economic processes. And the interesting thing of being in an island is that it's very easy to figure out supply chains and when they break. And by figuring out all that is broken or goes beyond the locality, the other side of the equation is that you get to know what's missing locally, that if you had it, you could generate X amount of extra activity. And I think you guys in Maingold also will see, and I'm happy to also have a separate chat on some resources that you could tap into that are available online. There is a wealth of data on regional economies provided by the European Union that you can have a look at. Is not so super up to date. It's from 10 years ago, but it tells you basically each region in Europe, which connection does it have in a graph of regions. And so yeah, I think yeah, that's in a nutshell, even longer maybe.
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned, the disruption and the need for change, you both are working on your local areas. So what would you say are the reasons that Frankfurt and Sardinia need complementary, digital-based complementary currencies?
Well, if you ask me, if I may, if you look it from another angle and you ask yourselves, how many SMEs are looking for customers or suppliers or access to finance, it comes up that everywhere in Europe at any time, 1 in 4 companies is in a position where they are either looking for new customers or looking for credit or both, or looking for ways to reward the customers. So it's not about Sardinia or Frankfurt. I think it's more about SMEs and their needs, and those needs being neglected. And I think everyone who starts such an endeavor as a complementary currency generally starts from where he's at and where his roots are. And that's, like, from my experience, all complementary currencies that lasted more than 3 days or 3 months or 3 years have this in common. Now, the big question on the whole sector, if you want, is once you are strong in your region, what do you do? That's what happened to us. We are now active in 10 other regions, and we're growing twice as fast there than we're growing here. Why? Because there was demand, and the companies called us, as we are recognized in Italy for this kind of services. But that's a huge question. Like, even in economics terms, like, what is the optimal trade area? That's an open question. If you look at trade, 90% of trade in Europe happens within 150 kilometers. Oh, sorry, 250. So we could have actually regions that are that big. Yeah, and that's it.
If I'm allowed to add, yes. And I mean, you mentioned it, Giuseppe, it's the wheel, and the wheel spins everywhere, more or less the same. So it's actually very, very great to see that you're even growing more outside. I mean, Sardinia, but this is kind of just a normal economic thing. Once you reach a specific point, it's very tough to grow again as well. But also for us in Frankfurt, I think there are some slight kind of cultural differences, of course, and of course about the regions. You mentioned like 250 kilometers. I mean, Frankfurt, we're more looking about really the city area where would launch it, and there it's of course about who would be the consumer besides the SMEs. So we have to have people also using it, right? And if we think about the more or less factors which we have in Frankfurt, it's a more metropolitan area. We have lots of early careers. And we also see, especially now during COVID, that people really want to consume where they are. So they want to know where the stuff grows. They want to know where it's coming from. And of course, we also have kind of the big point with climate change and how to reduce energy consumption, making things more efficient. And so we think, especially right now, it's always the right time to go for the complementary currency, but especially adding these points with the slight kind of geographic differences really makes sense. And especially also we're, like Tim was mentioning it earlier, we are of course launching it digitally. Why also? I mean, what we see I totally, speaking personally, I'm more or less also a fan of cash, but I mean, hey, things are changing, innovations are coming, especially you mentioned it, Giuseppe, kind of bottom up, like we also have to be more innovative at the bottom, that kind of politics sees what we're doing, that they get aware of us, know how also like systems could work. So we decided to totally launch digitally also to meet the demands. Like now during COVID, everyone could notice it. If you see how sales were made, they were using more and more like their credit cards and of course like contactless payments.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the digital question was a no-brainer for us 10, 12 years ago. We really, and in 2009, you didn't have fiber all over the island. We had 56K internet up to 2008. So basically, we jumped on DSL. And that was a good choice. We could have started like printing paper notes and stuff like that, but like you don't want to run around pieces of paper. It's a logistical nightmare, I would say. So I'm happy that we can use the web and mobile apps because they actually do a better job. Definitely I'll be also very interested, but there's nothing really at the moment, especially in the complementary currency tech scene, on the topic of offline payments that I think is really important for complementary currencies as well. I'm telling you this because I don't know how, I mean, regardless of how good the coverage of the cellular network in Frankfurt is, there's definitely going to be some basement or some dance floor where the phone doesn't work, but where you might want to pay in complementary currency. And that is something that I can say probably affects a good 3% of all our transactions. Because there are moments where the phone doesn't work, or not the phone, the data connection, and sometimes you lose transactions. It would be really nice to have mechanism to do the transaction peer-to-peer and broadcast it later when you have low connectivity. But that's just for Tatu to keep a note and tell the team is a how to say it's like an improvement proposal.
Yeah, would be a great feature. I totally agree.
I will make a note of that. And on that, I would also like to hear from the Maingold team on how and why did you come to choose the Trustlines, especially the protocol on your platform to use?
Yes, I can answer this. So actually, at first, it was kind of a coincidence. So Tim went to a convention in Berlin, and he met Andreas, and we were thinking about how we could kind of depict our model like digitally. And so we really discussed, okay, we would like to go with blockchain, and then we looked into the trust lines, and we were really sure, like also what we were discussing with you guys, what you're delivering already with your time banks and all that stuff, that's really kind of the partnership we wanted to have. Besides that, we really could work out together with you a way where we could kind of build our so-called marketplace, where then like the consumer on the one hand, and on the other hand the SMEs would kind of meet like with the blockchain and make the currency flows. I mean, Tim, feel free to add something here.
Maybe I rather have a question on Cyclos. I think that you used to run on Cyclos. So what are your experiences, or if you compare it like to the things that the Trustlines team introduced to you? So where do you see like?
That's a great question. I mean, I spoke to Andreas about this stuff quite extensively. It's, how can I say, it's okay. Let's frame it historically first. Not many people knows, but Cyclos is being started in the 90s. So is a very, 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 very mature code base, and it's a cloud system. That's our it's a cloud payment platform that has an incredible, really impressive amount of features. You can do a lot with that. On the other and by the way, I might be, I don't know if I make it this year, but I already bridged Cyclos to an Ethereum based blockchain for another project. So actually I've got a cloud and a chain working together. And in this case, the cloud leads as you access through that, but you also have the transactions in two places, the balances in two places. And so but in the same way, I really see I could use the Trustlines Network functionality as it is to reproduce what's going on inside Cyclos. And that's, I think, also worth, it should be interesting for both the Cyclos team and the Trustlines team. As you would have a transparent public side to a closed cloud system. Coming to your question, it's really hard to compare. First, because the architecture is very, 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 very different. And second, that at the stage where Trustline is right now, it is very much focused on a couple of core cases, core use cases. Whereas Cyclos, being developed through 20 years, it is that flexible that you could build a mutual credit system, you could build a PayPal style stuff. It's like clay, but it's in one box. This gives you speed, but with all the drawbacks. There's no composability. That is something that I hope will come to and grow more also in Trustlines. It's a matter of developer usage. but also Trustline is open source and Cyclos is closed source, is expensive, is not provided for free almost as is Trustline. So there are very, very many differences. I encourage anybody to build stuff wherever they want. In our case, migrating is difficult because we got like more than 10,000 accounts using it daily, and I mean, you need planning, right? And you need to make sure that whenever you migrate, you keep the functionality or improve it, but you can't migrate 10 functionality into a box with 3. You need to be able to do at least 10. So yeah, that's my experience, and yeah.
Because that's really interesting for me or for us, because when Andreas explained me the Trustline system, it attracted me really that it's like based on a decentralized Trustlines system, and what we have in mind with the currency here, it also is just like on decentralized Trustlines actually, so like not digital but in real life Trustlines. So that fitted perfectly in my opinion, and I'm not that into the IT architecture. I'm not an expert in that area, but as a like on that level.
Okay, got your point.
The decentralized approach.
Then I have a question. In your design of the Maingold, you got business A and business B, right? Let's make it super simple. So do they need to really like you're going fully peer-to-peer, so it's really A trusts B and back, or are you planning also to have a star type of network, so where let's say A trusts the Maingold team and B trusts the Maingold team, and they can trade through you, sort of? That was my question.
Maybe you want to explain it, Chris? Or shall I start?
Yes, so that's what I meant earlier with the marketplace. So we have to hop through Maingold. This is what we agreed on throughout like multiple nights and discussions, especially in the beginning. I mean, of course, like Tim mentioned, we really love to decentralize, but especially in the beginning to get started, we have to have kind of, let's so call it intermediarity to kind of steer it. Yeah.
No, I think you're making a reasonable choice. As much as I like the distributed nature of peer-to-peer trust, it's very hard to bootstrap because it sometimes, and I think it's very rare, you sort of should stumble like on already existing networks. Then you could say, okay, you guys get the account and trust your peers as you did yesterday. But that's really never the case. Normally, at least in my experience here, you gotta get out, go talk to business A, business B, up to Z and back, and try to convince them of the service that you first are trying to provide. And then, of course, other businesses will join if they also see that something is going on. And that's the problem with pure peer-to-peer system. Very easy to join, but then it's like you go to this huge party, the door is open, but there's no music, there's no DJ, there's nothing. And like everybody looking around, so they get out. And whereas in complementary currencies, I believe that having at least at the start one committed team is invaluable. Maybe then you want to decentralize that team, grow it, but that's all really management questions and actually really hard organizational maneuvers, if you want.
Now
But
that
it can be done.
Yeah,
Now that you mentioned management, we actually have a question here
Yep.
at the live chat from Thomas H. Grego Jr. He starts with saying, Maingold looks like an interesting project. Giuseppe, how much power do Sardex shareholders have to make sure management is adhering to its mission and not exploiting its stakeholders?
Great question, Thomas. Greetings. I would say that let me say it in a very I'll try to be as polite as possible, nor are anybody, including myself, that the mechanics of Sardex are unchanged by the stakeholders. The stakeholders that there are and shareholders are surely interested in extracting value in euros from our customers, but they also know that the market and the members themselves have a tolerance there. I don't know how to better explain it, that if we never charge transaction fees apart from consumer rewards, but for the B2B side, it's just still a flat yearly based fee and no transaction fees. That I think is quite sustainable. And you can't just, by the way, in Italy, if you change the prices or any condition in the contract that you signed, even for like raising or even lowering prices, you have to get the approval of the customer, and he can opt out if you raise them. So I hope I answered Thomas.
I hope so, Thomas. Here comments, a sound credit allocation algorithm is the heart of a mutual credit clearing system.
I agree. Credit allocation and position management and managing the build-ups and managing companies going bust. That's a big reality. I don't know what's going on in the US, but there is going to be an avalanche of defaults everywhere in the economy. So, and I think complementary currencies are part of the economy, will also suffer from it. But again, not charging interest and being more accessible gives us hope to continue servicing the local economy as we can. And again, the more time passes, the more options there will be, I think, to escape extractive or abusive credit relations or credit terms in any sense. Crypto, fiat, mutual credit. I mean, you can screw up in any system if you want.
That's definitely the case, I would agree. We also had another question, which is now retracted, but I'll rephrase it in a shorter way. This is for Maingold, asking for how is your team funded, and how do you provide the service and the ongoing future of it?
Yeah, maybe I can start. To that point, we didn't have that things to pay. We did some like marketing stuff or huge costs, and we're like organized at Transition Town. That's kind of a like umbrella organization that organizes lots of local projects here in Frankfurt, and they gave us a bit of money. But of course, if we want to start the pilot in summer, like I mentioned, we want to start it as a cooperative. and then the participating SMEs would also have to pay like a yearly fee, like Giuseppe mentioned it. We also plan not to implement a transaction fee, so that it's nice to hear free on that point. For our running system in the future, we plan to cost by a yearly fee by participating SMEs.
Yeah, let me add here. So we're not planning to making any profits, more or less. Right now, we're doing every voluntarily, like as Tim mentioned, or both of us in the beginning, we're working like full jobs. Besides doing this, we're a very diverse team of like around I would say the core 10 people. Of course, multiple projects going on. We are also like part of a program at the moment, which is subsidized, where we get some coaching. So more like on the startup side, but of course, like if we launched successfully, then of course we have to think about 1 or 2 headcounts, and then if it's growing more, of course, yeah.
Yes, and I believe you had a scholarship also that you received recently.
Yes. Tim, do you want to explain a little bit more what's about that?
Yeah, I mean, we applied for scholarship by Social Impact and Ingiba, like a bank in state, and it contains like several workshops, online workshops, and also some financial support, which we can use for like marketing activities or founding, the foundation of our cooperative, which is quite important. And this scholarship will go till end of October. So we get a lot of support by them. Also tomorrow is the next workshop. So it helps us a lot in like building our infrastructure networks here in Frankfurt, and to like convince SMEs to join the support by that scholarship.
Yeah,
Yes.
to add here, a couple of weeks ago, we also thought about like crowdfunding, but then we noticed actually we don't have to do it right now. But of course, like maybe in the near future, we have to think about such options as well, or maybe there's some people reaching out to us, who knows. But yeah, so at the moment, yeah, I think Tim, please correct me, but we are kind of funded well, yeah.
So in the beginning, I think both Chris and Tim mentioned that Sardex is quite a role model, and Giuseppe been the part of this for 12 years. What questions do you have for him?
Yeah, I can start with a, of course, like we have lots of questions. I can start with a more like basic question, like Giuseppe, what do you think, like if you would have to mention the 3 biggest points, what makes Sardex successful?
You're muted, Giuseppe.
Okay. I was saying 3 things, just 3 things super hard. But I would say consistency. First, I mean, we are up. The services are up 99.9% of the time, since years. So we are a reliable partner of many companies. And so consistency, reliability, and I would say, well, a bit of luck. But okay, let's leave that aside, because there have been events that helped us tremendously, that were pure luck. Others were not. I mean, we also were almost dead, as really physically drained a couple of years back. So, I mean, we've been through ups and downs. But yeah, consistency, reliability, and possibly we always try to resolve problems, not create new ones, not over promising, almost never. Yeah, these are things that help us. But I think also quite simple business model, and not. I mean, we didn't set out. How can I say? You can try to change whatever you want to change and shout it around. That's one way. Like, well, no. The other is you shut up and work. And we took that route. Most people are so attracted by complementary currencies because it's sort of a shiny thing, and makes your head think stuff that you normally don't allow yourself as a citizen to think. Like, we are talking about redesigning monetary systems. Normally normal people, common people don't do this, don't think about this stuff. So, but at the same time, the reality of the economy and the market doesn't give a shit about ideology. It is incredibly ideological in a capitalistic sense, as the homo economicus, like me before you, is the sort of paradigm we live in. So yeah, the reality is very, very brutal in that term. And the only way we found was being consistent. Don't shout. If you said, I'll help you find new customers, you really have to do it. And you move your ass and phone people, because that's not going to happen through the chain, through the cloud. It's just an old school phone. And most small and medium businesses do work with voice calls. And I see your generation, and I'm also not that old, to sort of dream of doing everything behind the screen. But in reality, that's the other lesson that the market and the people in the market taught me, as I was coming from more of a technical background, is that there's no substitute for human contact. And I think it's a value. Point is, humans are expensive. And so, as Chris was saying, we don't want to make profit. But even if you want to make profit, making profits is a hell of a freaking ride. So it's not guaranteed. If you want that, you will eventually. So even like aiming at no losses and reaching no losses and paying for, one head count, two head counts, and growing, that is a super worthy goal. Absolutely laudable. I wish you the best in turning an idea into a couple of jobs or even more, as that is incredible. And I mean, already, like, not making any profit, but paying everybody, paying your taxes, whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, for us, it was almost like beyond. Like, when we started, we said, if we survive the first year, we'll be super glad. 3 years down the line, we did €1 million worth of trades, and then we said, shit, this stuff is going somewhere. And then we started paying ourselves a part-time salary the third year. So the first 3 years were crazy, absolutely crazy, and I think I wouldn't do it again. It's something that I did because I was 29, 28, something. Now I'm 40, and gee, takes a good physique to last. To last. It's a lasting game. But if you plan wise and deliver, and especially at the beginning, we had to like really babysit companies. Like really, sometimes, you try to help them finding customers and realize they are masters of de-marketing, like anti-marketing. So you kind of say, oh shit. So you have also sometimes to provide education, like complementary currency. That's an underrated aspect. Are laboratories for institutional learning, but they're also schools of business administration, finance, accounting, and sometimes IT. We set up people's emails account because they needed an email to sign up, and they didn't have one in 2010. So, but that's, I don't know. This is not sexy for investors. It's not sexy for speculators. But if you care about change and positive change, I think is a valuable mission. Yeah, it's sort of a mission in like space terms.
Yeah, thank you very much, Giuseppe. Very great answer here, and also giving us some hints for down the road. And it's actually funny that you mentioned like the shiny thing, and you have to kind of just do it, because this is what I was talking the other day with Tim about, that I kind of read an interview with you and you were mentioning it there as well. And I mean, that's really what we also noticed, that we just need to do things because nobody's waiting there for us, like outside, and say, hey, we have to have a complementary currency there. And in this interview, you also just said, yeah, so we noticed a couple of months later, yeah, we started and things were rolling. But have you had kind of a test market, or you just really onboarded some SMEs test. And you started?
No test. Remember, all it takes to start, it's 3 companies. 3. That's a network. The real heartbeat is 3 to 100. When you have 100, then you might start to see the first in-network sort of supply chain germs, like DNA stuff forming. And then you grow from there. You will see that, I mean, we never ever manage to have the time in 12 years to sit down and really, for instance, like write all of the lessons that are in the heads of the community. We call them community trade advisors. So those are salesmen, but we call them CTAs, community trade advisors, and they go to meet businesses. But like, we've made a lot of material for them. But how can I say, the best ones, those who stay for years, and really they grow the network as they get the calls from the companies, they introduce, they get like referrals from the companies. That is very important, like getting referrals, but like, it's all in their head. I mean, I wish there was some USB stick I could pull out and share that with the world, but it's really all in the head. And I don't ever know if we'll have, like, really, because it would be a research project with, I don't know, a lot of, like, not really a lot of budget, but at least some people committed to run around with these guys and tell them, okay, now tell me your strategies out of your experience, not what you learn in the Sardex manual, because we do have our secret knowledge book, but you know, it's all the rest. And there is, I believe there is more in the heads than in the paper. And but you'll find out many things that work for normal sales do also work for complementary currency adoption. But you have to be very careful when dealing with promises of value provision. So what I mean is, you don't say at the first three or the first 100, you will able to buy electricity with Maingold, unless you're so good, so lucky that your first, like the third member is regional Eon or regional whatever green energy provider who believes in the concept and is willing to become the first pillar of the network. Like, this is important. Not all companies are the same. One energy producer is needed by any company. Like, if I teach yoga, I might be of use for the corporate retreat of one huge company, but ain't no baker calling me for yoga lesson. So you'll see that. But yeah, it's an infinite journey. So I hope you enjoy the ride and you learn. Most of this stuff is, believe me, I've tried to find anything online. I used to have a nickname which is something like the trova tutto, means the anything finder. You tell me that, and if it's on the internet, I'll probably get it. But on this stuff that I was just talking about, it's a void. There's like nothing. And so it's still part of learning. Definitely Thomas H. Greco's books, if you don't know them, I highly recommend those, as he has put in those books a lot of very valuable lessons. So I'll definitely recommend The End of Money and the Future of Civilization by Chelsea Green Publishing. That's probably one of the most hands-on good source of advice for complementary currency, regardless of the place. If you can read English, like that's a resource. And but again, any context now after COVID, like COVID changed everything again. Like we were used to go and meet, so really travel, not the door, and suddenly, like, it's 1.5 years we all doing sign-ups via Skype. Like, is not the same, but it still works. So it can be done. That's my message, and yeah, we should give it a go. Good.
If I question, Giuseppe, because we considered Sardex always as a great role model for B2B of the network and your members. But can you also explain us how the consumers are involved in your concept and your?
Yeah, that's pretty simple, and actually it's a tiny bit. I think is less than 1% of what we do is a program that's called BISOO, BISOO.it. There's also a website if you want. But it's a fairly simple reward in credits for consumer spending in euros. So you spend euros at a participant in the Sardex network. And if you are signed up to the program, you'll get 3%, 5%, 10%, even 25% of what you paid in euro back from the company in credits. You can then spend that mixed with euros or even 100% in the network. That's basically it. But I don't know. I don't know if in our case, I mean, we did the product with basically no budget, and launching a consumer product needs a lot of budget. Like really, you are competing with Visa cashback. You are competing with any cashback on credit cards, and those guys have huge marketing budgets. So to make a tiny step in that market, I believe is really expensive. We never had the resources. We wanted to test the functionality because it's really cool. Like you can program the reward percentage. I mean, you as a merchant, and it's very cheap because we charge, I think, is 2% of the euros that we brought through the program. It's the only transaction fee we have, as it's really a sales commission. That's all. Like it's extra sales, it's euros, and they're used to that as a concept. But I don't know. I'm telling you, it's I mean, we do have 23,000 people using this stuff. So like I'm talking 500,000 euros per month being spent this way. So it's not. It's probably bigger than most complementary currencies in Europe, I would say. But if you compare it to, 7 million Sardex, that's small. And yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if consumers, like it's very different. Like B2B and consumer markets are very, very different, and like the expectations are different. Like the consumer has one tiny problem with the app, is gone. Like you're losing. The business who has an interest in getting new business, in getting better credit at different terms, it doesn't leave you like that. It thinks about it. And the consumers have so many distractions, so many things trying to get their attention and get their euros, because that's what they bring. And but maybe you'll find a way to make it work better than the B2B. Like I do think that the two systems can work together. I'm sure that they do work together. They can work together. Is finding the formula is to me, it's been, at least for us, it's been harder on the B2C than on the B2B. Maybe we didn't study enough. I don't know. And it might change in the future. We might drop it. Like we also have workers. Like, so you have companies, workers, and consumers. Workers, I think they'll always stay. Like as they get accounts from their company. So the company is paying for the worker account. But for the worker is extra liquidity, extra advantages, extra whatever, they stay and they use it. We do 30% with them of the whole volume. So consider that as an option I would suggest don't like, don't go straight like, we need consumers. It's a hell of a beast to tame. Mind that. And I mean, unless you have people who have experience in launching, growing, consumer-oriented products and platforms, then I'm nobody. It's just that from my experience, it's harder, definitely different.
Thanks. We have another question here for Giuseppe from Thomas H. Greco again. So, Giuseppe, when I visited Sardinia a few years ago, you were not satisfied with what was going on done in other regions you were working with. Have you gone to a franchising model, and how are the various regions relating to one another?
Well, simple answer, because there would be a complicated one with all the details, but we are now directly active in other regions, and trade is finally happening, it's growing, and there is also some intertrade between regions going on. So I really do believe it was just a matter of getting operations done properly. New CEO that we have, Marco De Guzis, is a very tough guy. He is one of those CEOs who goes to the objective and is doing a very, very good job. I can't complain at all.
Are you seeing network effects coming across the regions?
There's definitely something brewing. Yeah. It's there. It's just starting, I would say, and it's still different region by region, but that's normal. But the rate of growth is twice as in Sardinia, so I think we are onto something. I hope it keeps going.
So we've now gone over for a little bit of over an hour. So we'll still go for a little bit. Let's see if there's more questions coming. And at least as a conclusion, what are the near future or the next steps and plans for both of you? Let's start with Maingold on this one.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning, we plan an info event for all the interested SMEs, and want to do like a test market or pilot period with these interested companies, and simultaneously we some experts and coaches when it comes to the foundation of the cooperative, what I also mentioned, so that are like the two different directions we so that's the in the near future. Maybe Chris can add something.
So actually, I think you mentioned all the things. Yeah, just moving forward, getting things started. I think as Giuseppe mentioned earlier, we just have to be active, and then we get it rolling.
Yeah, in my case, sort of keep doing and growing the market. I also I'm working on another project called localpay.it, which is also a Sardex project, but it's a different concept. It's a convertible mutual credit, convertible complementary currency, and so I'm looking forward to see where that goes. And also, I mean, I'm personally also looking at I'm learning Solidity, looking more and more at smart contract platforms, and I hope one day we manage to bring Sardex onto at least partially Trustlines or any suitable I mean, I'm more agnostic than a maximalist. So that technically wise. As for the rest, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to do. Just, I would say it would be a nice result if we achieve elsewhere what we did achieve in Sardinia. I would be incredibly proud, and it would be beyond any expectation. I retire after that, go fishing, or start an agricultural farm. I don't want to hear about complementary currency any longer in my life. I mean, it's very, very how can I say, life draining sort of business, enriches you, but it bites you in the ass at the same time. So easy on the burnout. That's also the thing. It's easy to get burnt out doing things that you love, and so take care of yourselves. Like that's the other suggestion, because I've had friends having troubles, health troubles, and going through rough times myself. So that's important. That's the most important thing. All the rest, I mean, we still have time to improve things, but we need to be healthy. So that, sorry for the sanitary conclusion. I think it's
Yes, but thank you. And I want to say thank you for all of you joining. I hope you will join us again another time. So in the future, remember to go and check out the Trustlines blog. If you haven't, there's more information there for the Maingold team as well as what's coming up. And I will see you